Hello friends, welcome to Daily Current Affairs and I am Rahul Kumar. Let's discuss today's topics. So today's topic is World Trade Organization and issues with farm subsidies. So recently the Finance Minister of India has urged the World Trade Organization to look at the issues of farm subsidies with an open mind and its impacts on food security needs of emerging economics in the backdrop of COVID-19 pandemic and Russia-Ukraine war. The finance minister said this while speaking at the Asian Development Bank Governors Seminar on policies to support Asia's rebound. Note: Asian Development Bank's Governor Seminar is an annual event brings together to the governors of Asian Development Bank's members countries, leading policymakers, development experts, etc., to discuss the developmental issues in Asia Pacific region. Headquarters of Asian Development Bank is Manila, Philippines. The ADB is a regional development bank established in 1966 to promote economic and social development in Asia and the Pacific. So, subsidies under WTO. So, amber box. There are three boxes: red box, amber box, and blue box. And the most controversial is amber box. So, amber box subsidies are those that can distort international trade by making the country's products cheaper in comparison to those of other countries. For example, subsidies of input such as fertilizers, seeds, electricity, irrigation, and minimum support price (MSP). According to WTO, agriculture amber box is used for all domestic support measures that are deemed to be distort the production and trade. As a result, the trade agreement requires for signatory to commit to reducing trade distorting domestic support that fall into the amber box. Members who do not make these commitments must keep their amber box to support within 5 to 10% of their value of production, 10% for developing countries and 5% for developed countries. So these clauses are controversial. Now come to blue box. It is the amber box with conditions designed to reduce distortion. Any support that would normally be in the amber box is placed in the blue box if it requires farms to limit production. These subsidies aims to limit production by imposing production quotas or requiring farms to set aside part of their land. At present, there are no limits to spending on blue box subsidies. So now next is green box. Green box is a domestic support measures that don't cause trade distortion or almost cause minimal distortion. The green box subsidies are government funded without any price support to crops. They also include environmental protection and regional development programs. Green box subsidies are therefore allowed without limit. So why there need to relook into subsidy norms? First is unequal opportunities to global south. Ever since the establishment of WTO, there has been a complaint regarding the export of agriculture goods and in general the viewpoints of the south, global south and emerging market have not been given equal weight as those of the developed nations in the trade discussions. The global south largely refers to the countries in Asia, Africa and South America. Next is issues with food subsidy limit. There is an issue with the reference of price adopted under the global trade norms. A WTO members country food subsidy bill should not breach the limit of 10% of the value of production based on the reference price of 1986 to 1988. Subsidies for agriculture and poor farms in developing countries were not to counted at all and were frozen by the WTO. Food security is comparatively stronger in developed nations than the developing countries because of the unbalanced nature of trade agreement. Next is rising food insecurity. The challenges on food security posed by COVID-19 pandemics and Russia-Ukraine conflict have once again emphasized to relook the subsidies norms as food and fertilizer security have become more important now. India's demand. As part of the permanent solution, India has asked the measure to like amendments in the formula to calculate the food subsidy cap and inclusion of programs implemented after 2013 under the ambit of peace clause. So, what is WTO peace clause? It is an interim measures. The WTO members agreed on the mechanism called the peace clause in December 2013 and pledged to negotiate a permanent solution. Under peace clause, the WTO members agreed to refrain from challenging any breach in prescribed ceilings by a developing nation at a dispute settlement forum of the WTO. This clause will stay till a permanent solution is found to a food stockpiling issues. So, about WTO. WTO is an international organization that regulates and promotes global trade. It was established in 1995 and currently has 164 member countries, including European Union. It provides a forum for the member countries to negotiate and enforce the trade agreement, resolve dispute, and promote economic growth and development. Its headquarters is Geneva, Switzerland. So, let's look origin of WTO. The WTO is a successor of GATT, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, which was created in 1947 in Uruguay Round Conference. In 1986, Uruguay Round Conference 1986 to 1994, the GATT led to the WTO's creations. WTO began operations on 1st January 1995. The agreement to establishing the WTO, commonly known as the Marrakesh Agreement, was signed in Marrakech, Morocco in 1994. India was one of the founding members of the 1947 GATT and the successor. The WTO main difference between GATT and WTO was GATT mostly dealt with the trade of goods. The WTO and its agreement could not only cover goods but also trade in services and other intellectual properties like trade creation, design and innovation.